Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you don't already know, my name is Lesego Ramela, and on this channel it's all about learning, growth and contribution. Today I am talking about money. Money. I actually posted a video last year just talking about budgeting, right? And I thought it would be important to also reassess that video, because the way I budget now has kind of matured and made me think about whether I am sticking to those same principles. I'm going to link that video up here, but I don't want to lie, guys. I feel like the more money you have, the more expenses you have. And don't quote me, don't at me. If you are at that stage, you'll understand exactly what I mean, because when I was a first year trainee, I had expenses, but these expenses were not expensing like what's happening right now. And granted, guys, my daughter was still daughtering when I was in first year. My husband was still husbanding when I was in first year. But for some odd reason, I think maybe our lifestyle has changed. The area that we live in is different from the area that I lived in when I was in first year. And the cost of inflation, guys, the economy is economying. Is that even English? So I wrote down a few notes of just the typical expenses that young professionals actually face, because I do understand that I am not a money expert. So I just probably need to put a disclaimer to say I'm not a money expert, but these are the costs that are sometimes so hindering to our actual money goals, One of the biggest one being rent. And let me say, one of the biggest one for me was rent before, right? Because in 2020, we were renting out an apartment, but we bought our apartment now in 2021. So we've had it for 2 years. And given how the economy has changed so much, our bond payment then, 2021 versus now, 2023. Guys, oh my gosh, it's a lot. So rent is actually such a big chunk of where our money goes. And granted, my husband and I actually split how we take care of the house. So just for example, he takes care of the bond payment. Now, I understand that some young professionals don't have a husband to husband, So sometimes it might be a cost that you actually need to think about before you start doing boss moves and starting to think about buying an apartment or even renting out. So he will pay the bond payment, and then I will cover the levies, the rates and the taxes, as well as the electricity. But there's other things that I cover that I'm going to speak on as well. But those are also quite pricey things that as a young professional you need to be aware of. So rent in Johannesburg, if you want a reasonable looking apartment in a very reasonable area where it's secure, where you have to think about safety, at a minimum you are going to be paying 6.5. A range between 6.5 and 8,000, and depending on the area, that's a 1 bedroom, that's a 2 bedroom. And granted that the apartment that we have bought is a 3 bedroom, specifically because I am working in a hybrid setting as well as my husband, and then our daughter's room. So that's why we were actually looking for a 3 bedroom. So for you might not need all this space. So going on that lower range of the cost, 6.5, it's a lot, right? I don't know how much trainees are earning, but it appears as if it's more than what we earned. But thinking of inflation, some are the same thing, So you're looking at about 6.5, 7,000 rand of your salary gone either to rent, and if it's a mortgage, guys, at a minimum 10 grand. I don't want to tell you guys how much I'm paying for a bond, but 10 grand, I wish that's how much we were paying. Another thing is just your car payment. I don't know, young professionals just want to do really boss things when they start working. I understand that commuting is a thing that you need to think about, but getting a fancy car might not be the most sensible thing to be doing. You just need a vehicle to get you from point A to point B. And I do understand that in one of my stories I did mention Benzi ke Benzi, but you are a trainee. You can only afford those smaller cars from the office to the client, from the client back to home. It's not a lot, so you just need a basic car, and car payments are quite a lot. If you think about your monthly rentals, you're probably paying at a minimum 4,000-5,000 rand. And then you also need to think about insurance ranges between 1.5-3,000 rand, depending on how riskier you are, your background, if you've been in accidents, if you have a bunch of other things like that. Car payment including insurance is a lot. So that's also like you're looking at 6 grand. That is almost 13,000 rand, 12,000 rand just gone on a car and just where you are living. What about your food? What about koso? And food is so expensive, guys. And I've matured in where I buy my food, and I say that respectfully when I say matured, right? Because I am a saver. I am a very finicky person when it comes to finances. So I look for deals. I look for the cheapest things. I am a CA, guys. We save every coin. Don't look at us and think we have money. I don't know where we are spending our money, but there's no money, and we are also very finicky about the money. But I used to look for deals and like macro buy, and I'd also like go to like cheaper areas, right? And then I realized that the food was not lasting. Now we eat a lot of fresh foods. We don't eat a lot of storage foods because of health reasons, and also we are a very active family. We go to the gym quite often. My daughter goes to a school that's very pro the world and very eco-friendly, so they don't promote any processed foods. So she snacks on a lot of fruits and like biltong and like dried fruits. Like it has to be healthy things, right? And healthy living is not cheap. And you know what, if you buy a lot of fruits and vegetables in bulk at very cheap prices, it's not even going to last a day or two. So yes, guys, I'm not promoting Woolies, but I'm just saying, of all my options, Woolies makes sense for me. Now for you, you also might need to assess whether as a trainee, do I need to be a Woolies girl, but is Pick n Pay, Spar, ShopRite, Checkers going to be my portion? And there is nothing wrong with those stores, right? I think it's just how you eat your food and looking for the best deals. For me, I go everywhere. For my fresh foods, I go to Woolies. For cupboard food, like processed foods, I'll go to like Checkers. For toiletries, I'll still go to like Checkers or Spar, depending on the day, right? If I don't feel like cooking, Spar has a really amazing kitchen, and sometimes I'll go buy my salads there. So it all depends on where you buy your food. But at a minimum, for the week, 3 people in my house range between 1,000, 1.5. For you, if you are living alone, you are probably going to be spending 800 between 1,000 rand, which is a lot. That's 4,000 rand at a minimum in a month. Already we are sitting. Our money is sitting at 17,000 rand, almost 16,000 rand. Rent, car, food. Let's discuss how you have not bought clothes, how there is nothing on your body, on your flesh, And granted that you don't need to be flashy, you don't need to be a Zara girl. Leave it to the experienced workers with a lot of money. If it's not your parents' money, why are you walking into those Zara and H&M doors? Girl, stop it, I feel like somebody needs to hear that. I came from the spirit. But I really think that you need to assess your wardrobe, right? At the end of the day, don't be dressing for people. I think this consumer mentality that we have, that we need to have the latest brands, the latest makeup, the latest hair, the latest everything, it's getting old. And if your long-term goal is to mature financially and to also be secure and have all the financial freedom, it means that you need to be very prudent. You don't necessarily need to buy every brand that is released. Fenty Beauty, Lancome, I love those brands, but can I afford them? No, I am not the target market. Thanks. If the time does come and I'm that girl, I will become that girl. But just understanding your finances is key to budgeting, right? The last thing is petrol. Petrol is also a lot, guys. Oh, those oil prices. I don't know why people sometimes, when I watch the news, I feel like I'm depressing myself, because when I look at the cost of petrol, and the cost of petrol goes hand in hand with that car. So again, my quote, Benz get Benz. Do you know how much money I spent in a week on a benzo. Oh, guys, let's not talk about it. But also thinking about fuel efficient cars, price of petrol is hectic, and price of petrol just drives everything else. Like the electricity might be expensive. Going from oil to gas can also be expensive. It's winter now. We need to replace our gas because we have a gas stove and a gas heater. That can also get expensive. Stuff like just lunching at the office, or even like having a cup of coffee, like just certain things I don't necessarily do because it is not necessary and I understand my responsibility. But money management is all about self and having an awareness of what can I afford, what can I not afford. You do not need to keep up with your colleagues and buy lunch every day. There is no need to be having a coffee run every day. With whose money? Not mine. If it's yours, sharp. Mine? Sorry, cannot happen. There's no need to constantly go out and have lunch or go to socials. And yes, it's a part of employee morale to attend socials, but every social, really? Did you think about black tax? If y'all are melanin, you understand what I mean. But black tax is a separate video on its own. I went to therapy for that, and I'm not going to discuss it in this video. But black tax is a real thing. Again, having an awareness of self to know that your colleague does not have the same responsibilities as you. Your friends don't have the same responsibilities as you. So budgeting is very, very important. Now, for me, month on month, I know that some debit orders are more important than others. Now, this is why I say some are important than others. My phone is a necessary debit order. And Gary, we said we wanted to be Apple gang, so you will pay for your Apple gangness. Number 2, my gym fees. I cannot compromise, guys. I exercise. It's a part of my well-being, my mental health, my physical health, my spiritual health. Like going to the gym does something for me. If I just happen to have a great body at the end, great, but that is not why I go. My investments, I make it a habit to diversify and save my money. Before I pay everybody else, I also make sure that that debit order is a payment for me. So I have investments in indices, and I've covered this in my video initially, where I spoke about how I have an investment broker who buys different stocks and invests them into different share indices, and that accumulates interest every month depending on how great the economy is doing. But that is more for the long run, right? That is money that I'm not trying to even access now. It's for my future, it's for my daughter, it's for when I want to live my best life and I'm done doing my 9 to 5. I also make sure that in my actual bank account I have my savings. I call it my emergency fund. I take a portion depending on how great the month is. If I'm getting a bonus, if I'm getting expense claims, if I'm getting I don't know, man. If somebody feels like they're blessing me, and I mean my dad, my parents, and my husband, guys, I make sure that I put that in an emergency fund for in case I want to go out with the girls, in case I want to go out with my husband and go on a like short-term trip, in case we want to do things together, in case we want to go see family, because my family is also based in a different province. So again, the price of petrol, I budget for the month going to work, but when it comes to like family trips, going to see different family members, that is also something that needs to be covered in my emergency fund. Things like Zoe getting sick randomly, like, oh, this girl sometimes flu, then kaosane constipation, then kaosane utshwere ke mahlo. Yo guys, it's a lot, right? And then I need to fork out money here and there, even though that is covered by medical aid. But some medical aid schemes are just, that's not that video. I don't want to discuss my medical aid, but medical aid stresses me out. But if you guys have good recommendations about medical aid, please comment down below. I really need to switch up. But sometimes I need to fork out money to buy medicine randomly, so the emergency fund is good for that. But there's just a bunch of things that is important to consider, especially when you are setting up your emergency fund, because again, it is for emergencies. So don't feel guilty whenever you are using it, but try by all means to not use it as frequently. Again, it's for emergencies, and an emergency is not turning up every weekend. That is not an emergency. That's an excuse for you to be reckless. I just had to call you out. But yeah, budgeting is very personal, and budgeting takes time, and I've advised this, that the only way you can actually track your budgeting and track your money is to actually be one with your banking app. I use F&B, and my banking app is my friend, right? I will go on my Bible app and I will go on my F&B app religiously, because I need to, number one, connect to a higher source, and then number two, I need to know what my money is doing, because every day I need to always think about, I'm creating wealth. It's about longevity. It's not about just living for the moment, but it's about creating and establishing myself so that my daughter does not have to go through struggles. I know my parents, when they thought about me and my future, they made sure that they secured me, and I want to do that. And I feel like as people of color, we need to be called out on our BS, right? In terms of like making sure that we're not just being consumers. We're not thinking about having a great time now and not thinking about what is my future going to look like, what is tomorrow going to look like. So this video is highly focused on encouraging you to start thinking about your money and understanding that money and your relationship with money is personal, but you also need to make sure that the relationship is healthy, so that you're not being reckless, so that tomorrow, Harley the millionaire, nobody's going to come and say, Kikopa 10 rand. You know, you need to make sure that also those boundaries are set. If you understand your money, it's easier to set boundaries around your money. Not everybody should have access to your money. Not everybody should have a claim to your money. But then that only comes if you can understand yourself, your needs, your values, and understanding where your money goes and where your money flows. But otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Don't forget to like, to comment, to share, and to subscribe. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.